o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Before adopting the agenda, there are two additions. I know it's not the practice of the council to add things to the council meeting, but because of the time and there's no meeting in August, so it's important, I would say, to add them. One is just an invitation, 8.7, invitation from City of Yarmouth, from Town of Yarmouth. And 12.2, closed session, public security. So if you agree with that, we would need a motion to adopt. Moved by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. Are there items on the agenda that would put you in a conflict of interest? If not, we'll go to number 3, presentations. There aren't any tonight. For adoption of minutes, 4.1, June 19, 2019, regular council meeting. Any errors or omissions? Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Hill. All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. 4.2, July 3rd, 2019, council and committee meeting. Errors or omissions? Moved by Councillor Thibault, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. 5, business arising from previous council meetings. 5.1, paving, Cape St. Mary Lighthouse Park. That's been going on for a while. When we had the announcement to start the project at the lighthouse, that was a while ago. There was discussion with the MLA, Gordon Wilson, that there might be a possibility with different monies to pave the road, but that didn't work as we thought it might. There has been lots of discussion since. Would it be possible to just cheap seal it or make a partnership with the province to try to fix the problem? Because there are two things. It would improve the site, but also by building the park, it created a problem for the residents there because it's gravel. It's dry. So a lot of traffic goes by, and every time a car goes, there's just a lot of dust. So the two houses, when you speak to the residents, they can't put clothes on their clotheslines. They can't, if there's a little bit of the car window open or something, it leaves some powder. So I discussed with Gordon Wilson a couple of weeks ago, and he's looking at, he's speaking with the department to see if there are opportunities there. But one suggestion that he had would be that we might need a counter in the road. They put counters to count the traffic sometimes, the cars as they go by, to really have a sense of how many cars do go by. So he was going to discuss it with TIR, but I think maybe we would need a letter of support or a request to put a counter there to help with this case. So I don't know if what you think about this, but that's pretty much it. It has become an issue, especially this time of year when it's dry. Lots of dust right straight through the road. There are only 2 residents there. So for them, to have a petition, there would only be 2 people there, but the cars that do go by, it's on a busy day. 100 cars can go by in a day, so. Someone else? Councillor DeVoe? Thank you, Mr. Warden. While waiting, I asked if we could put maybe chloride on the road. It would be less dust until we can do something, until we can have it paved or something. I don't really know who we would contact for that, but If I'm not mistaken, they put some last week. There have been discussions, and they're gonna put some twice a year because that's the practice that they have. But it did help for a bit, but not for a long time. So, Councillor Como, when we talk about paving, the public road ends at the parking lot. So does that mean that they would have to pave from the road, and it would not include the parking lot? Well, that's the other half of the discussion when I said to see if there are opportunities for partnerships, and that's why he would have liked to have an answer. We don't really need to make a decision right now, but if he approaches the department to see if there's development, he doesn't want to do it if the municipality isn't ready to have the discussion or discuss to have it done. So that's the other half of the conversation. One is the letter to ask for the counter to help with the argument to have it done. The second part would be to have, if the municipality is ready to do a partnership, what would it look like? What would it be? Would they be ready to get involved? But he doesn't want to get involved if the municipality isn't interested. Stefan, I don't know if the CIO made contact with him, because that's another conversation we could have. No, there has been no date fixed for a meeting. I know that to pave the road, there have been discussions. There are other advantages for the municipality other than for the two residents that are on that road. I know that Grand Fondo level, the park was a place that they would like to add to the route, but as long as the road isn't paved, that causes problems to have it as a rest stop for the cyclists to go up there. Also, if you look at on a broader scale, to improve our public spaces with the Congrès Mondial that's coming in 2024, paving that road and the parking lot would definitely fit into the context of the Congrès. So there are other advantages for the municipality to go ahead with the paving. I mean, if you do agree to send the letter, maybe the second half would be to invite Gordon Wilson to come and to discuss with him, to talk about it further. But are you interested in sending a letter to put a counter? Councillor Thibault? Does it take a motion to send a letter? I'd like to make the motion to send the letter to put the counter. Someone wants to second it. Councillor Potier? Is there discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. 5.2, weekly flyers. The flyers. You threw me off with that one, to be honest. Thank you, Mr. Orden. I know I spoke about this in the past concerning the flyers that are distributed to pretty much every household in the area. As member of the board of WasteCheck, I spoke about it there as well. And we'd like to fix this problem. There are citizens in the area who pick up the garbage in the ditches, etc., and the person right kind of behind them just keeps throwing the flyers in the driveways, in the ditches, everywhere. And it seems to me that we're going backwards instead of going forward with keeping our area clean. I'm not saying that we have to stop the flyers. I'd like to if the councillors agree that we bring that to the bylaw committee to try to fix the problem. So whether we put boxes somewhere or tubes, where there aren't tubes, there aren't flyers, the bylaw committee could look at this. It's been done in other municipalities. I know that they removed the flyers, or I should say that they stopped flyers from being thrown around. I've already spoken with some people who distribute, and for them it's not littering, but for me, when I ask them, so I asked them then what is littering, and I mean, for me, something that you take from your car window, it's in plastic grips. Flyers are everywhere. Plastic goes one way, paper goes the other way. It goes in the ditches. It goes to, I mean, people's houses, people where there aren't even houses or people. A few weeks ago, I found a pile of flyers on a road where there weren't even houses on that road. I don't know why they were there, but there were a lot of flyers there that someone just left there. So for me, that's littering. So the process that we would need right now, I don't really know how it would work, but I think it would be to start with bringing the issue to the bylaw committee, and then the bylaw committee could decide what to do with this. Thank you. I don't know what the council wishes. Councillor Camo? If the other members agree, we could look at other municipalities do to try to fix this problem, especially if it's creating a bylaw. Someone else? I don't think we really need a motion, but if there's a consensus that the bylaw committee looks at this and looks at what happens in other municipalities for this, and could come back with recommendations for the council. If you're okay with that, yeah, perfect. Okay, so we'll go ahead with that. Next, 6, Warden's Activity Report. On June 20th, I went to a meeting from the executive of Harborside Lodge in Yarmouth. June 21st, Stefan and I presented a request to the CSAP so that they review their admission policy 501, to take into consideration the people who arrive into our committee. We had made a motion to talk about it at the school board, and I'd say that it went really well. On June 24th, I went to the official opening of JD Composites on Namatagan River. July 1st, I went to the Canada Day celebrations at the in Clare. July 3rd, I went to the official announcement for the new long-term care building, replacement of the villa in Metagan. A lot of you guys were there. That was an announcement that the members of the committee were very happy about. July 10th, I went to an announcement from Mélanie Joly, who is Tourism and Official Languages Minister in Canada. An announcement on the modernization of the building Gustave Blanche at Université Sainte-Anne, and that was followed by a round table with local stakeholders. So there were maybe 15 people around the table after the announcement. So we spoke about the Congrès Mondial, that we had been named one of the Francophone communities in Nova Scotia, in Canada, one of the 10, and other things related to Francophones. On July 13th, I assisted to run a committee meeting in Digby. As you probably know, Pam Mood was the chair, and she stepped down, so there were votes. So Jamie McAlpine is the chair for the LOC, the warden of the municipality of Digby, and the vice chair is Patty Durkee from municipality of Yarmouth. July 15th, I went to a session for the councillors of Clare and Argyle for 2024. You were all here. It was both councils. It was a good meeting. July 16th, I went to a meeting from the Société Édifice Sainte-Marie of Church Point in the Sédonais building. So Hector and I are on the committee. It was a good meeting. I just went through quite quickly, but I'm certainly ready to answer your questions if you have any. Next, we'll go to 7, official statements from members of council. Councillor DeVoe. Thank you. I'd like to say that tomorrow, July 18th, it will be the 60th wedding anniversary of René and Annette Comeau of Sonyville. I would ask that we present them with a certificate, if it's the council's desire. Thank you. You all agree? Other presentations? Councillor Thibault? Yeah, every time I go to Halifax, I go by Hansport, where's there's the landing, and every time I look, and there's always the Acadian flag that's up, and I stopped the other day to see if the person in charge was there, and they weren't there. But I think we should send a letter to thank them that they have the Nova Scotia flag, they have the Canada flag, they have their flag, and they have the Acadian flag. And I think the council should send them a letter to thank them for putting up the Acadian flag. You all agree? Councillor Comeau? I'd just like to take the opportunity to congratulate David DeVoe from Riverside Lobster International Inc. from Metagon River, the president of Riverside. On June 20th at the Université Sainte-Anne, they celebrated the graduates from the collegiate program, and some members of council were there. And Alistair Surratt, the president that night, he presented the prize Louis E. DeVoe to David from Riverside. There's an article that came out in the Courrier that said that Riverside or Lobster International Inc. is an important economic vehicle for the region, and the innovative company contributes to all sorts of initiatives to the community. So congratulations to David DeVoe. I would ask the council to send a letter of congratulations to David DeVoe. Other presentations, official presentations? No, if not, we'll go to 8, correspondence. 8.1, Association Santé de Clare, Rail to Trail Association. Just to thank you for your letter from March 30th, 2019, in which you inform us that our request for $3,000 has been accepted. The members of our association would like to thank you and to the members of council for the generous contribution. This contribution will help us to maintain the trail. The work this season will focus on 2 aspects, the vegetation control and the repair of the surface. The trail is well used and contributes enormously to sports and recreation in the area. We must also know that the trail has an economic impact on the businesses of the area. Thank you. Robert A. Thériault, President.
Any questions or comments? 8.2, Housing Nova Scotia.
19 municipal contribution, Western Regional Housing Authority. Safe, affordable homes to more than 17,600 Nova Scotians who live in one of our over 11,000 public housing units. Through our 5 regional housing authorities, we invest more than $140 million each year to operate and maintain our public housing stock. Municipalities are key partners as they contribute to the delivery of the program by funding a percentage of the housing authority's net operating losses in accordance with joint operating agreements. The municipality of the District of Clare's share of the 2018-2019 public housing net operating losses as it relates to senior and or family projects located within your municipal jurisdiction is $38,841. This municipal contribution helps offset operating costs, which includes property taxes and major maintenance investments that are necessary to preserve and upgrade our public housing portfolio. We appreciate receiving your payment for $38,841 at your earliest convenience. We want to thank you for your important contribution to help meet the housing needs of your residents. Should you wish to receive more detailed information regarding the determination of the identified 2018-19 municipal share, please contact John Campbell, Housing Director, Western Regional Housing Authority. Yours truly, Laurie Curry, Chief Financial Officer, Housing Nova Scotia.
As-tu des questions? En termes, så har just det lätt la prellbygga, men har vi byggt en montant med cette courant?
C'est toujours une estimation qu'on fait parce que nous autres, notre bureau, on le passe en mai, mais les 2 dernières années, on le passe au mois d'avril. On a seulement confirmation du montant de la province ou de Housing Nova Scotia, au plus tôt le mois de juin. So, on se base toujours sur ce qu'on avait reçu ou ce qui nous a été demandé de contribuer de l'année d'avant. Cette année, on avait budgété 35 000 basé sur ce qu'on avait payé l'année dernière. Et le montant qui nous est demandé, c'est 38 000, presque 39 000 $. Alors, il y a un petit manque à gagner là, de 3 000 à 4 000 $.
La traduction travail point.
Oh, sorry. Is it okay now? Sorry about that. Any questions or comments on that? The Faro Festival, the discussion was that the amount was budgeted. Any questions or comments? We go on to 8.4, a letter of thanks from Clare Innes. On behalf of the Acadian Society of Clare, we want to thank you for your contribution to the presentation of the theater. And just to remind you, the municipality had presented $5,000 towards that activity. And it was a nice evening. We will go on to 8.5, innovative fisheries.
$1,073.58 for the purchase of a new fire truck, which we understand went to the Meteghan Fire Department. In the May 16, 2019 issue of the Clare Shopper, the Meteghan Fire Department published how the Chase Days proceeds were spent. We do not have any issue with how they spend the proceeds. In fact, the Meteghan Fire Department should be congratulated for taking the initiative in putting together such a successful fundraiser. Our issue is with the municipality of Clare implementing a new tax to purchase a fire truck for Meteghan, when the Meteghan Fire Department clearly has the means to fundraise the amount of money required to purchase a new fire truck in their current or upcoming Chase the Ace fundraising campaigns. This additional tax is a burden on the taxpayers of Clare and is unjustifiable. We sincerely hope you will reevaluate this new tax and eliminate it from your next municipal budget. Sincerely, Mark Blinn, President, Innovative Fishery Products, Inc.
Just to bring some context, we tried to do it as, I'll try to do it as quickly as possible, but we do have a 5-year capital plan with the fire departments, and a lot of the plans had trucks for the departments, and it was at the point where for ourselves, we are not firemen, we are not experts. We knew that the trucks every year need to be replaced with the firemen, we took the initiative to hire a consultant to come in and evaluate all the equipment and the trucks in all the 8 fire departments. The reason for that is to try to limit how much it would cost to the municipality at the same time as the equipment that is necessary for the fire departments. But in doing that, they did the study, and they came with recommendations. We can go on the website and read the report, but more or less they recommend that we replace more or less 7 trucks. It is at the discretion of the council. But the council had different options. We could have taken a loan to borrow the money to buy all the trucks at the same time. It would have been a considerable loan of 2.8 million, but the approach the council took is to look at the list, and this year it's Meteghan, and next year it's Southville, and then Salmon River. So instead of borrowing money and paying interest every 3 or 4 years, the interest that you pay would, we decided to put in the $350,000 and buy the trucks for that year, and this year it's Meteghan, and next year it'll be Southville. By doing that, it saves a lot of money to the taxpayers, rather than taking a big loan. Just the interest, we could have bought 2 or 3 trucks in the term. So we had a lot of discussions with all the fire departments, and we went through the report with the CFFA, Clare Firefighters Association. They took a vote that they would support the report 100% and its recommendations. We had a lot of negotiation. We have to give credit to the fire departments for their work with the municipality, but we had a public meeting. We advertised it. There was not a lot of people, but in saying that, we have to take the responsibilities if it was not communicated the way it should have been. But the reality is this year, yes, Meteghan gets the truck, and the way we do it is saving money, and the fire department will have the equipment that they deserve to have and that they should have for the fire protection. So I went through this quickly. I don't know if you have anything to add, or does anybody else want to add? But the lack of communications is we had the money for the fire truck in Meteghan. Meteghan was the first, and in reality, from what I understand, all the fire departments are following and supporting the recommendations of the report. So they support the priorities as the report presented them. Councillor Como? I know Innovative understands the importance of the trucks for the security of the municipality, but did the municipality reply to their letter to say what you just said, that arrived at these decisions? No, not yet, because the letter was addressed to the council. So after we read it tonight, we will reply to it. And I think more or less it will give them an explanation. So they did have discussions with the firemen, with the councillors, and I think they understand better the situation. But it explains the process. So maybe a lot of other people didn't understand the process. So Councillor DeVoe, thank you. When I read the letter, I had the impression right away that they did not understand how things are working, how the truck in Meteghan will be paid. But it's for certain that some public is not happy. But I think that we should send them a letter or make sure that it is clear how it works, because I had the impression that they did not understand the process that we have for the purchasing of the trucks. The other point I want to put also is the area rate is placed through the municipality. So it affects all the departments and they work together for the whole municipality. So if there is a fire at one end of Clare, the trucks at the other end will go. So the other approach is that the other municipalities take when they have an area rate for their territory to protect that area. But what that creates is that Metagan can have like 50% of the assessment of Clare. So the truck would be 6 cents for 2 years, but in another department it could be 12 cents. But the approach of the municipality and the CFFA is that it serves all areas equally. And we will put that for everyone. Anybody else? I would like to, I know there are some firemen here, and I always say it, but I think Clare is extremely lucky to have all the volunteers at the fire departments. They are well trained and they give a lot of their time, and we see what's going on in the other municipalities. And some people are suffering, but here in Clare, I can tell you we are really lucky, and I thank the firemen every chance I get. So we can go on to 8.6. It's a letter from Shorco Storage.
$538.80, which was also for the purchase of capital equipment for the fire department. It brings our total taxes for firefighting equipment to $3,385.36 for 2019. While no one disputes the importance of fire protection, we find that this new tax is excessive and unwarranted. When we constructed our building 2 years ago, we were happy to install a hydrant to permit the fire department to fill their trucks at no charge for firefighting purposes and or training. However, due to the implementation of the new tax, we now feel obligated to charge $100 per use to the fire departments for the new hydrant system at our location until the amount of $1,846.56 has been recovered. Sincerely, Doug Bertram, Shore Cold Storage and Logistics.
So today Shore Cold Storage and Logistics Inc., Innovative Fisheries, are the same owners. Mark Blinn is the president of both companies. So I knew that there were discussions with Mark since both letters have been written. The first one was signed by Mr. Blinn, the second by Mr. Bertram. So I called Mark today regarding the second letter especially, and the possibility that they start charging either the municipality or the firefighters to use water to fight fires if they were still their intention. Mr. Blinn said that he wasn't the one that had signed the letter, but I was contacting him as president of the company. But he told me that Mr. Bertram was there with him, and that he was going to speak with him and come back to me. So that was yesterday. I haven't had any news so far to see if those were their intentions. That being said, I asked a little bit more about the fair hole itself and the deed for the piece of land to see if there was an easement. That was speaking with our lawyer, just to see if they could refuse access to the fire hole for the department. So we looked at the deed, and in the deed there are easements. Some easements are documented, but none are specifically documented to protect the right-of-way or to guarantee the right-of-way for the fire department, Little Brook Fire Department. If there had been an easement in a case like this, from what I understand, the access would have been guaranteed for the department. But the fact that there is no easement recorded in the deed, there's nothing necessarily that would prevent them from going ahead with this. If you look at the NGA from the Municipal Governments Act, the section that looks specifically at fire protection, the municipality's role is for volunteer fire departments or emergency services providers, I should rather say. Still, there's nothing that necessarily addresses a case like this. So that being said, without looking into it more, nothing really prevents them from asking us to pay or ask for payment every time a fire truck goes there to fill tanks. That being said, it's far from being the ideal situation. From what I understand, speaking with Councillor Thibault, it's if it remains as is, it could potentially be the third fire hole that the department loses, Little Brook Fire Department loses. So for me, to not have access to this fire hole is more of case of $100. It's actually public security for the community, and it's not only Little Brook. There are other departments that could use that fire hole in theory. So that's the situation. I haven't had any news back from Mr. Bertram or Mr. Blind since my call from there. It's not to say that I won't have any, but for now, for tonight, that's the situation. I see that there are two approaches that we can take right now. One is to pay them, and the other one is to consider to make a water hole on the piece of land of the fire department, and they would have their own hole, and it would be on their piece of land, and there wouldn't be any question. Because if we have to pay $100, or we're going to pay it anyways with time, we'll pay what it costs to make the water hole. So we can pay, or we can make a water hole. I don't know if Yvonne, you wanted to add something. I know that Salmon River made one. They have it set up that you can pump from outside or pump from inside. They can fill the truck from inside if they need to. But I don't know exactly how it works 100%, but they find it works really well. It gives them access to their water reservoir that it hasn't drained yet. There's plenty of water, so it works quite well. Councillor Thibault? Yeah, being said that the Little Brook, it's their third hole that needs to be made. I think it's a solution that they make their own water hole, and it'll be right at their building, and anyone from the department can go, and the problem will just be solved for always. I agree with Mr. Thibault. These are people that do some volunteer work. They do it out of the goodness of their heart, and to be in situations like this isn't ideal for them. So if they have their own hole, they just won't worry about anyone yet, and they can fight the fires as they wish. So because it's a special case, maybe you can talk about it, of how to finance it. That was I was getting ready to say. Normally cases like this, in the case of Salmon River, for example, the fire hole that we made there, that was about 2 years ago, I think, not more anyway. Normally items like this would be financed through the fire rig that we have in place, 5 cents. For the case of Salmon River, what we did, it was about $20,000. That was the hole and the plumbing to the fire hall. Maybe a little more, between 20 and 25,000, in that range. That being said, considering the circumstances for tonight and the fact that the error rate from 5 cents has essentially not been allocated, but has been the planning for the spending for the year has been done, and the motion will be discussed tonight. When we did the planning and when the department put their 5-year plan together, this wasn't a part of it. The situation wasn't yet known, hadn't So with your permission, the recommendation would be to finance, to look at prices and go ahead with financing of the fire hall out of our capital reserve, considering that this is a public security situation. It's outside of the norm, and our rear rate of 5 cents because of the timing of all of this is and out of fairness for Little Brook is not going to work, and I don't think we want to wait on something like this. So we would need more or less a motion to start the process to start the water hole. Danny?
No, they shouldn't be holding that over Little Brook's head or the municipality's head. I think it's the way to go, and I'm prepared to make the motion that we access the reserve and get the prices for the whole.
Seconded by Councillor DeVoe. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor DeVoe? Thank you. So we'll be looking at just making the hole or the plumbing to go into the building at the same time? I know that's Annapolis Royal is like that as well. They just fill the truck right in the hall and it works really well. So if we could find money for that, that would be really nice. Councillor Como? We should be able to talk with the firefighters to see what works best for them. But if that's what they want, I think it's something that we can make happen. I mean, Councillor LeBlanc says that it works very well for Salmon River, so all in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. And I hope that the department isn't against the idea, because it has been carried. Thank you. Next is 8.7, invitation, Town of Yarmouth. Her Worship Pemmood, Mayor of Town of Yarmouth, and the Town of Yarmouth Council request the pleasure of your company at a garden party held in recognition of a visit by the Honorable Arthur G. Leblanc, Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, and Mrs. Patsy Leblanc, which is Wednesday, August 7th, 29th, from 2 to 4 p.m. at Frost Park, 400 Main Street, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. Business dress, RSVP by July 31st, 2019. So this was an invitation that was sent to the warden, but it's extended to every council member if someone is interested in going. And if someone wants to go, and you can let me know, and I can send the RSVP on behalf of everyone. So once again, RSVP before July 31st. Next, we'll go to 4, CAO report. Thank you. As usual, I'll just do an overview of a few projects. For the Grand Fondo, July 15th, there were 904 participants registered. So if we compare with last year, at the end of last July 31st, we're at 900. So we're a little bit ahead compared with last year. Of those 904 participants, 26% from the outside of the province. So that's a new record. That's the highest we've had so far. 121 from New Brunswick, 25 from PEI, 10 from Quebec, 4 from BC, 2 from Northwest Territories, 22 from the US, 2 from Austria, 1 from France, 1 from Germany, and 1 from United Kingdom. So again, just to compare with last year, and 28 for the complete year, we had 214 participants from outside the province. Still, if we look at the 904 participants, 391 or 43%, it's the first time they participate to the Grand Fondo. So these are new participants, new people to the area. For Clare residents, we have 107 participants so far. We expect that number to grow as the date approaches. For the mini fondo that we started last year, there are 27 participants so far, but that also we expect people to register more towards the end. So, we expect Grand Fondo similar to last year, So that is to say, a little over 1,000 participants. For the Clare Veterans Center, our finance request is ready. It's ready to be submitted to rural northern communities from the Invest in Canada plan. However, we're just waiting that for the program to start and for them to ask for submissions. So we haven't had news yet from the province as to when they will start accepting submissions. We thought it would be in the fall, but that being said, because this program is a partnership between the federal and the provincial, and that there will be some federal elections in October, maybe it will cause delays. So that being said, we're looking at the possibility from other sources of funding, federal and provincial, while respecting the same amount of contributions from 3 levels of government. So we're looking for a solution that wouldn't cost us more, in other words, but it also doesn't leave a lot of time with the elections that are coming. Once they declare the elections, they're not, they can't accept funding requests. So we're looking at what our possibilities are and what the chances are that how we can proceed with submitting an application. For the Metagon River Sewer Extension and the fall pipe, I know I spoke about it several times, unfortunately. As I said last time, SPEC had the contract for an amount of $24,600. Installation is dependent, weather and tide dependent, because it's a 900-foot tube. The work was supposed to be done on July 4th weekend, but we put it we pushed it forward because we haven't received permits from the province. So unfortunately, it has been a problem. So since then, the permits have been signed by the minister from the department in question. So they just haven't really made their way to the Southwest office. So we should receive them in July. So we spoke with SPEC, and we expect that the work will be able to be done in September, during the month of September. The reason why we're hoping to have it done as early as possible is because it's been going on for a long time. It's the last element of a long project of about 1.2 million. But the problem is that there are holdback that are tied that we can't have back as long as the project isn't complete, and the outfall pipe is the last part of the project. So as long as we finish that part of the work, our holdback, the project will be done and the holdback will be dispersed. So for
the Acadian Congress in 2024, most of you were there at the meeting we had with the councillors from Clare and Argyll on July 15th to discuss the CMA, but we talked about 2 things: the process for establishing the new board of directors and the expectations of the councils and the organizing committee regarding our participation in the participation of the 2019 Congress in PEI and New Brunswick. But for the board of directors for 2024, the municipalities will have a tender call. Our 2 managers will look into that, and we will launch shortly with the intention of finding somebody interested in the president, vice president for Clare, vice president for Argyll, and the treasurer. So 4 members of the executive. We will draw a list, and we will have a meeting in September to present the names that are on that list, to evaluate it and nominate the people. For our presence in this summer in 2019, we will have a kiosk at the Congress starting August the 15th to the 23rd in the commercial salons. The booth will be open from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night every day. And on the 24th, we will have a showcase, and that's the opportunity that It'll be from 1 to 3:30 in the afternoon. There will be a few dignitaries present, and also the musicians, artists from the Argyle and Clare areas. So this is essentially to present a bigger ceremony that will take place at the night to transfer the dossier of the World Acadian Congress from New Brunswick and BI to the southwestern Nova Scotia. So that will be held on the 24th. Some funds have been put aside to present that showcase for the preparation, the techniques, and the musicians and everything. So we also had a request for the Acadian Affairs and Francophonie for the balance for that. For the internet, Mainland Telecom submitted a request in response to the offer from Nova Scotia, and it was tendered on before midnight on the 28th of June. As you know, we sent a letter of support to Mainland, which would be conditional on the success of the request and the contractual negotiations with Development Nova Scotia. We have not received a reply from Mainland regarding the request. I think they said that not only us, but the request will be evaluated and the answers will be sent in September. So it remains to be seen. For the Havelock Community Center, as you know, we submitted a request for funds from the New Horizons seniors. It is a building that belongs to the municipality. The cost of the project is $50,000, and the request was for $25,000, which is 50%, which is the maximum allowed under the program. We received correspondence saying that our request is eligible and it did go through a first phase. So these are good news. There are no promises yet, but it's a first step. For the final decision regarding the financing, they are not giving us a precise date. They say at the beginning of winter, so it'll take time before we get a reply on the financing. And it says in the criteria for the program that we do not have the permission to start the works before approval, or we will not get the money. For the finances of the municipality at the end of June 30th, we had $8,333,000 in revenue versus $2,511,000 in expenses, for a net revenue of $5,522,394. Also, as of June 30th, the municipality had a balance of $4,118,981 in the operational account, $226,112 in the capital project account, and the total in reserve of $4,710,821. That last amount can be spread as follows: the operational $441,000, the reserve for capital project $2,295,000, and the landfill closure $325,046, and finally the gas tax reserve $940,270. So the financial position, we are very stable. For the internal, a few good news there. The auditors have completed their work today, actually, and there were no questions or worries noted, and we are expecting this year to have a favorable report for a clean audit. For the gas tax funding, also some good news. We received some correspondence telling us that the amounts that we will receive this year. So the allocation for this year that we will receive is 368,633. But this year it'll be different because all municipalities will also receive a one-time top-up on the gas tax. So the top-up for us represents another 396,000. So our gas tax allocation will be $755,065. So these are good news. The meetings that I attended since June 19th, the meeting on the 20th of June, I had an interview with CFA on June the 21st. This is something we will try to do more regularly. Just a little debrief on the things that were discussed at the meeting of the council and the projects we work on. It's part of our communication strategy. And also I attended with the warden, the opening of Judy Composite, and also the financing for the building that will replace the villa on June the 3rd. I met with our municipal councillor at the Municipal Affairs just to discuss different programs and have a tour of the area, the projects that we have, and the other projects that we plan to bring. The audit committee met on July 4th, and finally, we met myself with the other general directors of the municipalities in southwestern regarding regional development, regarding the standards imposed by the province. So that is my report. If you have any questions. The only question I would have is where is the municipal planning app? Where is it at? The minimum standards as they are explained now, we meet them, but it's not saying that there will not be any work to do, but I do not recall the precise date. I think it's at the end of the year. I can't tell you exactly when. Any more questions or comments? If not, we will go on to 10, the committee reports, the construction permits report. Councillor Hill.
June 2018, we had 90 permits issued for a value of construction of $4.2 million. And as of June of 2019, we had 89 permits issued for a value of $4.6 million. So about $200,000 increase over the years.
That's good. Any questions? We'll go on to 10.2, the La Villa Acadienne, Councillor Comeau. The members of the Board of Directors met on June 25th for the annual meeting at the Villa, and I asked the administrator to have a report and a follow-up for the replacement of the Villa, and I didn't. This is the report.
In Yarmouth, presented the financial statements for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2019. We finished the year with a current operating deficit of $46,569. Our total income totaled $7,065,613, with the majority of that being resident day revenue, $6,800,000. Our total expenses totaled $7,112,182, with the majority of that amount being salaries and benefits of $5,900,000. Gloria Banks also presented an engagement report for our charitable foundation for the period ending March 31st, 2019. Through donations, fundraising, and interest, we earned $52,300 and spent $4,765. Donations are made up of donations made in memory of a loved one and bequeaths. Money spent can only be used to the benefits of the residents, such as special events and special equipment. etc. At each annual meeting, we elect the officers of the board. Marcel Cotreau was elected president. Les membres du bureau de direction sont
Members of the board, the two members of the public are Andre Timat and Marcel Cotreau. And we have Councillor Potier, Leblanc, and Hector Thibault, and myself. I was chosen as vice president for a one-year term.
comme mentionné par le préfet,
As mentioned by the warden,
of Villa Acadienne with an additional 10 beds. The new facility will be located on the old Bluegrass site in Michigan. The facility will be comprised of 3 neighborhoods of 32 beds, 16 beds per house. Each house will have their own bathing suites, dining, living area, private resident rooms with private bathroom, and will share a kitchen. The board has hired a project manager to guide us along our journey and is working with Nycom and Associates, an architectural firm based in Halifax. The schematic design will be presented to the Department of Health and Wellness on July 3rd.
I think Councillor Hector Thibault will be in Halifax, and the President Marcel Cotreau and the Administrator.
In his press release, he expects the new facility to open in 2022-23 fiscal year, qui veut dire
Which means in three and a half years. So these are news we are expecting for a number of years, so we are very happy. That's all. Any questions? These are good news for sure. We'll go on to 11 under new business, motion to adopt the bylaw 37 for the second and final reading. Do you want to talk about this, Councillor Como? I spoke about this at the last 2 meetings, and I can if you want. If you want to, go ahead, I'll follow. If I forget something, you can mention it, but at the last council meeting, the members of the bylaw committee had proposed the first reading for the bylaw concerning subdivisions, and this evening I will explain what we explained the last meeting. There is an individual who wants to make a request to divide their lands. The land, and if the land crosses a government road which is not maintained, the request can be refused. So today, there is no bylaw regarding subdivisions. And the notes of the last meeting, in order to solve the problem and to look at the problem, the members of the bylaw committee with the lawyer of the municipality and the director, the general manager, and the surveyors, and we created a bylaw regarding subdivisions to address the problems, and so we propose that the council accepts this as a second reading. Just a little addition, we had, the first time we presented the bylaw for a first reading, we had received some questions and comments, like Councillor Como mentioned, from surveyors and developers and lawyers of the area. So we sat with them. We had some revisions. We presented the bylaw again, first reading, considering the modifications we had made to the document. So this time, we advertised it again. We only received one comment from a developer who was really a misunderstanding. That was solved. Now we have talked with him. There were no other worries about the bylaw, and we received no other comments. So that is So if the council agrees, we can pass it as a second reading.
I'd also like to add that Barrington had a lot of with the subdivision bylaw, and we compared ours with that one. But of course, our bylaw is better for our municipality, but we compared it, and their bylaw works well. So that being said, are you making the motion? I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare read bylaw number 37, a bylaw respecting subdivisions, and that the bylaw be read for the second and final time by title only. Seconded by Councillor Hill. Is there discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary? Motion carried. So I understand you have to read the title to make it official. Bylaw number 37, a bylaw respecting subdivisions. So that makes the bylaw official. That's nice work. That was definitely necessary from what we heard from people who were trying to develop some land. 11.2, motion to write a letter to the Nova Scotia Department of Environment regarding a derelict boat. More or less, Councillor DeVoe had sent this on the table at the council and committee meeting, that there had been calls. I don't know if you would like to talk about it, but because since you brought it on the table, but more or less they wanted asking the council to write a letter to the minister to assess the situation, but you can add something if you want. Thank you, yes. They wanted it to be cleaned as early as possible. And then when I explained the public spoke with the way that it was done, they understood that it couldn't be cleaned, that we can't really start the cleanup process right away, but that the next step was to send a letter to the minister. Make the motion. I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare write a letter to the Honorable Gordon Wilson, Minister of Environment, outlining his concerns surrounding the remains of the derelict boat at Comobel. Seconded by Councillor Thibault. Is there a discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, motion carried. In cases where the members of the public have on Facebook, does Amy answer to the individuals to clarify how the municipality proceeds, or how it deals with the situation? So on our site, you're talking about our site. Yes, on our site. If there are comments or questions that are addressed to the municipality through our email or on our Facebook page, certainly our communications officer, Amy, gives the necessary information, tries to clarify. As a practice, if there are discussions on Facebook and the municipality is mentioned, we don't get into the discussions, or until now we haven't. As a rule of thumb, we try not to get involved, but if it's something that's a question or comment that's directly addressed to us, and that we must answer, then we do, of course, in a very respectful manner, and we always invite them to call me directly. We can meet, so we try to give some options. Next, we'll go to 11.3, motion to purchase a community flagpole. So this is part of our project capital budget. The reason why I include it here tonight is because the amount was higher than what we had budgeted for. So we compared with the price of the installation in the park, the lighthouse at the Cape, and the installation there was a lot less complicated over there. It was only a block of cement to anchor the pole. Here it's a little bit more complicated because of the cement sidewalks. More work will be needed. So the cost for the pole itself has gone up since we installed the pole at the Cape. So that being said, we received quotes for the pole and for the installation here at the municipal office. The price for the 2,239 plus HST, and the installation is 3,265 plus HST for a total of 5,504 plus HST. We see a lot of value in installing a community flagpole as a communication tool and outreach for the municipality. I think that will be well perceived by the members of the community. So that being said, we ask that you move the motion tonight. Someone will move the motion. Councillor Thibault. I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare approve the purchase of a community flagpole from Flag Emporium in the 1,239 plus HST and its installation by Spec Resources Inc. in the amount of 3,265 plus HST for a total of $5,504 plus HST, and that these funds be taken from the municipality's capital fund. Seconded by Councillor DeVoe. Discussion on the motion? I think it's a good idea. Now, if someone wants to put up a flag, we'll have a place to put it without breaking protocol of existing protocols. So, see on flags now, that's really good. So, that being said, did we take the vote? No, I didn't think so. I have to stop talking. All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. Next, we'll go to 11.4, motion to approve the 5 capital investment plan 2019-2024. So the investment plan, the 5-year investment plan, is a document that the province asks us to present every year. The document is due in September, and since we aren't moving in August, we are presenting it tonight. It's a document that is essentially based on our budget for capital projects for the year and what we are looking at as our capital project for the next 4 years, especially for our use of the gas tax. For the province, it's a planning tool. It doesn't tie us, it doesn't oblige us to do all the projects that are listed here. If there's a new project that comes up, the council can do it, even if it's not included in the plan. Nothing prevents us from doing it. It's just, once again, to give an idea to the province of where we're going with projects for the municipality. But that can change from day to day. And it's difficult to foresee projects like this 5 years in advance with infrastructure and finance projects. So that being said, what we present tonight is the same document that I presented 2 weeks ago. There haven't been any changes. It's essentially a listing of projects that we're looking at. The format will change a little bit because it isn't the format that's required by the province, but the content will be the same. We would ask a motion to approve the plan, the capital investment plan, the 5-year plan that we can submit to the province for September 1st. Is someone, Councillor Leblanc? I move that the council for the municipality of the district of Clare approve the municipality's 5-year capital investment plan 2019-2024 as presented. Seconded by Councillor Hill. Discussion on the motion? More or less, it's like the CAO said, it's a wish list that we put our projects that we may have thought about if we decide to go forward with it. It's on the list, but it doesn't really limit us. Are you ready for the question? All in favor? Against? Motion carried. Next, 11.5, motion to approve the 2019-2020 volunteer fire department capital funding expenditures. So at the last meeting, earlier this month, I presented the capital funding expenditures for the municipality of Clare. It's based on items that they included in their plans for the year. So if we look at the items that are included on the list, are financed by our fire rate of 5 cents, which is the one that has always been in place. The fire rate of 5 cents, once we have the interest payments for the numbers that we have for the firefighters, that leaves us with $123,293 to invest that the different departments use from day to day to combat fires. So bunker suits, CBA, helmets, gloves, boots, all kinds of things, hoses, things like that. So by looking at the list that they gave us this year and the items that they asked for, there was a lot of consistency between different departments. So bunker suits, there were lots, SCBA, helmets, gloves, coveralls. There wasn't really anything that that made us question if there were things that were going to be used or no. There were all things that we know are regularly used. So that being said, based on the requests that we received from different departments, the total amount was $117,742. So that inside that 123,293. So that leaves us with a little bit more money if ever there's something unexpected that comes up, which has happened in the past. So that being said, the recommendation from the staff is to go ahead and to approve what the firefighters. Someone want to move the motion? Councillor DeVille? I move that the council for the municipality of the District of Clare approve the 2019-2020 volunteer fire department capital funding expenditures as presented. Seconded by Councillor Leblanc. So with that, I mean, we went through the list at the council and committee in detail. I don't think it's necessary, but if it's approved, it's a public document, so anyone can look through it. Is there discussion on the motion or discussion? No? Ready for the question? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried.
A motion to approve the Bellevue mission. This is an agreement that was already in place with the municipality, with the Bellevue Cove Development Commission. This year we looked at a revision and update, and we had our lawyer look at it also, but it's due to be renewed. So we wanted to make sure that the content is what we want. And at the level of the risk, it protects us, the two of us, as partners. But the agreement that we weeks ago is the same that we are proposing here this evening. So it is a renewal of the protocol, and we will revisit it next year to see if there are items to modify or revise. Councillor Hill?
Approve the proposed memorandum of understanding between the municipality of Clare and the Bellevue Cove Development Commission as presented.
Quelqu'un qui appuie ça?
Anybody to second that? Councillor DeVoe? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. 11.7, motion to redistribute the remainder of the CMA 2024 bid. For the tender candidate, as for the Congress, we had a $25,000 budget. Also with the province, 12,500 from Clare, 12,500 from the municipality of Argyle. We finished our dose, as you know, and we received it. We were chosen as the area for the next Congress. That being said, once all bills had been paid, we still had $11,600 left in the budget. So that is money from both municipalities. Because that money was approved specifically for the candidates, we are still having some expenses for the promotional items to ensure that we have a good representation in the 2019 summer. So we are asking you essentially, because there is not a lot of time, we have to prepare ourselves with the promotional items that are designed and ordered and printed. So we are asking permission from both councils to use the amounts for promotional items related to our presence in 2024. Does anybody wish to make a motion? I move that the Council for the Municipality of the District of Clare allow the CMA 2024 Bid Committee to use the remaining $11,160 from its bid preparation budget for the promotion of the 2024 CMA, including ensuring a presence at the upcoming CMA 2019 in Prince Edward Island and Southern New Brunswick. By Councillor LeBlanc. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. 11.8, motion to purchase a 2020 Honda 700 Pioneer side-by-side. Maybe you can explain. For our landfill, we are obliged by environment every 3 months to test the water on the site and to monitor the cells that are there. We have 29 wells on the site, spread out everywhere. In the past, the person who did the testing for us has a four-wheeler, and he brought it there, and it went gone. Sometimes there were two on the four-wheeler, and they could pick up as much as they can to test the stuff with the different bottles and stuff to test the water. But with time, the trees are growing and the shrubs, and we had no maintenance on that road, so it is more and more difficult to go to the wells. You cannot do it, but it is too far. But with the four-wheeler, we are at a point where we cannot get there. There are too much shrubs, and it's not good for security reasons. So to address the situation this year, we will come back at, we're looking at cutting roads to get to the wells to allow that testing to be made as obliged by the province. So we, through B&G Lombard, we did some bush hogging to clean, but it is still rough, and what we want to do, once it is cut, we want to go with a loader to take out some stumps and rocks. But when we had reserved $50,000 from the capital budget for that project, but inside of that, we knew that the situation of the staff and the contractors to do that testing, and by the fact that it is his four-wheeler, it's not everybody that can do this or has a buggy or four-wheeler. We would need something for ourselves, not only for the testing, but we would need something for the staff to, with the contractor, but in the monitoring of the site and other reports that we have to submit to the Department of Environment, the manager at the landfill does that also. He goes all around the site. So if the budget this year allows it, the recommendation would be to have allow two people to get on it to do those testings, and also with a dump box that they can place their equipment. And we also have a pump that we have to establish to the buggy to do the water testing. So then again, that was always just attached to the four, but we stay in place. So we want to ensure that we have the equipment necessary to do that testing, and the recommendation is to have a side-by-side with a dumping box. So we looked at different prices for this side-by-side. We looked at Loman, who offers that the equipment. Honda here has some. We went there and we priced what we thought we needed so to do the job. So we looked also at John Deere and Polaris prices, and the two were very so on the side of servicing, and it is somebody in our community which is close. We are saving money there. And although also the fact that the procurement policy is local as much as possible. So we decided to go forward with the Honda model from Comoville. It is the recommendation of the staff. And going forward, I think for the ongoing maintenance of the site, we have to make sure that there will be a regular bush hogging, not necessarily a year, to make sure that the work that we are doing this year will not have to be done again. It's only maintenance that we're looking at. So that is why we are proposing the purchase of a side-by-side. So if we go back also at the capital budget, our option was to do some roads where a truck can get there, and it would cost several $1,000s just for the truck, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So now these roads will still be rough, but enough to go by side. It's cheaper than having a road system to get there by truck. So that's how the council looked at that. And just to give you an idea, we will look at it at 11.2, but this is a big bush hog. Commercial bush hog was $2,900, and it does the whole site. So it was a reasonable cost for me. And at 11.10, the excavation site work, we are looking at going with the lower or the excavator to level it more smoothly. This wood chips to cover. The cost that will be mentioned shortly is the installation of two culverts. And also with the 2,900 amount, we are below $10,000. So really, I was surprised by the cost of the project. So the excavation and the purchase of the side-by-side, we are still below the $50,000 that we had budgeted for this year to do this work. Does anybody wish to make the motion? Councillor Thibault. For the municipality of the District of Clare, purchase a Honda 700 Pioneer side-by-side 2020 with dump box from Leonard Secom Limited in the amount of $16,334 plus HST to be used water testing and site monitoring at the former Metagan land site, and that these funds be taken from the municipality's capital fund. Anybody wish to second that? Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any discussion on the motion? It was a big explanation, but in reality, a lot of money apart from building roads. Ready for the vote? All those in favor indicate by saying yes. Contrary, no. Motion is carried. So we will go on to 11.9, motion to approve a reduction of taxes for AAN 148. This is simply the house, AAN. It was a residence for residential housing. The house was destroyed by us in June because it was being deteriorating, and it was decided to destruct it, but the tax bills had already been sent out, and they are being taxed for the land and the house. So the house calculations, we prorated the first quarter of the year with the house there. When the house was demolished, they are only taxed for the land and the wealth. So the land will be capped, so they will not be taxed again. So it represents on their taxes 762.38. So the recommendation of the staff is that we pass a motion to grant that reduction. And when this is the same situation as demolished or who burned. Anybody wish to make the motion?
Demolition of the house in question by the property owner in June 2019.
Quelqu'un qui appuie ça?
Seconded by Councillor DeVoe. Is there discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. Motion to award tender for excavation, site work, former municipal landfill. So following my little speech of a little earlier, so we did an invitational tender. We asked 3 local companies to bid on the job. We received 3 bids. The lowest one was for all the work that was left to do on the site for an amount of $5,700 plus HST. So the recommendations from the staff is to accept the bid of B&G Lombard for that amount. Someone who wants to do, Councillor Potier? Of the District of Clare, award the tender for the excavation and site work at the former municipal landfill to B&G Lombard Limited in the amount of $5,700 plus HST, and that these funds be taken from the municipality's capital reserve. Someone seconds discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. 11.11, motion to name road Pepperell Road. This is, we're talking about a private road, but it's a little bit different this time because the road doesn't exist yet. It's in the Councillor LeBlanc's district. It's Mr. that has some land and considerable pieces of land, and they're off Baseline Road, and he would like to build a road. He has all the land of that road, and he asked that we approve the name Pepperell Road in advance because he's planning to a major development in the region, in that area on his land, and the name Pepperell would be part of the thing that he wants to do. So if the name is refused, evidently he doesn't want to spend that money on his branding. So what he asks of us is that we make the motion to reserve the road, Pepperell Road, Chemin Pepperell, so that he can plans that he's putting together right now to develop the site. I checked with Daniel Godet, who is responsible for this type of work, and he has been in contact with the person in contact. It meets the requirements. It respects the requirements of our road naming policy. Daniel, if we do move the motion as it is written tonight, will it be useful in your discussions with the province later? And he said yes. So the recommendation from the staff and myself is that we do give at least a reserve the name Pepperell Road for when the person in question decides to build. Councillor LeBlanc, would you like to make the motion? I move the name Pepperell Road be reserved for the proposed road to shared by properties PID, property identification number 303-77345, 300-95251, 303-77360, 303-77352, and 300-952. Seconded by Councillor Potier. Did you want to talk a little bit about it? I'm not sure if you wanted to talk about it a bit, or it's that the guy has 4 or 5 properties besides the ocean development. I'm not really sure what he's going to do yet with it, but he'd like to promote what he wants to do to develop further next spring. So I think it's just good to give him a little head start on his project. Is it houses that he wants to build, or I think it's a house for himself and maybe more to host events and things that he has planned. So, are there more discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried. Next, we'll go to 12, closed sessions. So there are 2 items there. 12.1, contract negotiations, public security. So with that being said, we need a motion to go to the closed session. Moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor DeVoe. All in favor indicate by saying yes. Against? Motion carried.